Hello, third grade parents and some of my third grade friends. This is one of the first of many math videos that I will be sending your way via our blog and our classroom YouTube channel. I just want to start off first by saying that this video is not required. It is optional and you do not have to view this video. This video is a choice for you to view in order to better support your child at home, or if your child is feeling confused, in order for them to get additional support and help. This week we are going to be looking at arrays and how arrays show us multiplication. Arrays show us multiplication by making a multiplication equation very visual for us. So an example of an array would be if I drew 3 dots here, and then I drew an additional column of 3 dots here. I would have a 3 by 2 array, so the equation for that would be 3 times 2 equals 6. An array is up here where it says, I understand that for a number of groups containing an equal number of objects, the product of the number of groups times the number of objects in each group equals the total number of objects. Basically, an array is a visual way to show multiplication. Array is the word that we will be using at school, and it is part of the terminology in their math unit this year. And so if you can encourage them to look for arrays at home, we did a little bit of an array hunt in class, and students were very excited when they saw an array in Taco's cage, or they saw one in our fluorescent lights on the ceiling. A lot of students flipped over their shoes and saw arrays. And then not only for them to be noticing arrays, but then take it one step further and maybe ask your child, what array do you see? Is it a 3 by 2? Is it a 2 by 3? Is it a 6 by 3, etc.? The other thing that we're going to be talking a lot about this week is that there's a commutative property to addition and multiplication. We have already discussed the commutative property in addition, but we will now be looking at the commutative property in multiplication. And what that means is that 2 times 3 also equals 6. Again, that this property doesn't work for subtraction or division also gets looked at. So if we were to draw this same array as it was a 3 by 2, we can also draw it as a 2 by 3. You can also show this to your child just simply by turning the paper and seeing that the same number stays the same, but the way it's visually represented is different. These are some examples of how we'll be looking at showing arrays this week in school, and it says, draw an array for this equation 2 times 3. We just did that one on the other page, so I'm not going to show you that one again, but we could look at maybe a more challenging array, like for example down here. Draw an array for this equation 5 times 2. Now they are looking at solving this array, but I will be encouraging the students to draw the array first and then solving the multiplication problem after by counting up all of the pieces in their array. Now, oftentimes what happens is when students start drawing, they sort of lose count of what they are drawing, or their pieces start to get out of line. And then they don't have an array because it is not an equal set of numbers in a row or column. So if you find that your child is struggling with this at home, shoot me a quick email and I'll be happy to send home some of these chip pieces. And then we could look at solving the same array using chips. The chips are easier to keep in line because the student doesn't have to draw them. All your child will have to do is simply line them up. And that is much easier to do. So if we take a look at lining these pieces up in our array, then we can see that we have a 5 times 2 array, and that if we were to count it out, it would be equal to 10. Again, just shoot me an email if you need some chips, and I'll be happy to send a little baggie home. The other way we'll be looking at representing this information is if the if your son or daughter is given the array, that then they're able to understand how to represent this array using a multiplication equation. Now, I have explained that part of the equation does mean that there's an equal sign and that they have to solve it. So for example, right here, we have a 1, 2, 3 by 1 array. So 3 times 1 equals 3. If your child would like to practice writing it both ways, because then we can also turn it and see it as 1 times 3, that is fine with me. It helps them to better understand the commutative property, even though I understand that the picture shown doesn't show the array in both directions, but if your student turns the page and then can write the commutative equation here, then that is fine as well. Also, some students who have been working with this idea have been drawing fact families. And they've just been starting off with the factors. And then the operations go in the middle. This is a great way for them to see the relationship between the two factors and then the product of the multiplication equation. However, I still additionally would like for them to be writing out the equation in standard form. This will be a great segue into division and a great conversation piece where you say, okay, so I have 4 fans total, and if I were to divide it into 2 groups, this being one group and this being another, how many fans would I have in each group? And you could say 2. If you have any questions concerning representing multiplication through arrays, please feel free to send me an email. I hope that you find this video to be helpful, and again, if you find that there's a topic I don't create a video on that you would like one on, shoot me an email and I will be emailing these videos out more regularly. I hope that you have a great evening, day, or afternoon.